Welcome to Nintendo Ninja News. I'm your host, Chris Diasis, and we're here for another NNN show, and we are here to talk about, yes, the elephant in the room that I've not addressed, which is Pokemon Sword and Shield, Game Freak, the hate, the love, the frustration, all that sort of stuff. Um, I think if it's really interesting because I think a lot of people thought that the Pokemon fan base was a nice fan base in terms of they were a pretty open community. However, this year they have proven to be one of the worst communities around in terms of the amount of hate that they've been giving the dev team and things like that. Now, there has obviously been a Reddit post, and I'm just trying to come up with it now. Um, and there's been some information about, some of the issues and problems and of what they've seen before the game has been released. Now, some of it's legitimate. Some people are upset about the natural Pokedex is being removed, and I'm sure that I'll be a little bit sad about missing out on some of the Pokemon. One of the other sort of leaks has been a lot of some Pokemon moves have been removed as well. But if you go through the list of them, none of the moves really pop out at you. It's not like they're taking away Ice Beam or Blizzard or Fire Blast or any of those sort of real big moves. They're all these little moves that you probably think, yeah, we don't need that one or this one, or we can live with that one. And obviously, when you're making games, especially over 800 3D models, it's really hard. Now, there's even been a case of a streamer who took the game, hacked it, and then streamed it to make out that the game was worse than what it was, which is another really bullshit thing that they've done. And that is not being that great. So, and even, I watch a few YouTubers and Rich Review Tech USA basically jumping on the bandwagon for 5 minutes, saying, "Well, I don't know much about Pokemon, but I'm gonna take seriously this Reddit post, and I'm going to agree with everything they say, without any basic research or looking at the reviewers and what they have to say." And I'm like, okay, okay. And the reason why I don't like doing these videos is, I would think that people would have common sense and wait for the game to be released, but they fucking don't. They really don't. People just like to hate on things at the moment. And this is the latest one in Pokemon Sword and Shield. But this has gotten a lot of hate um, in terms of just really nitpicking at things. Like some of the criticisms in that Reddit post, I won't show it because most of it's rubbish, is just nitpicking at things. Little things that actually you could point out a lot of other video games suffer from the same problems or issues, or it's not even an actual problem. That's part of the game design. And yes, maybe during the Pokemon stream that I will point out things that I'm not really happy with, or things that I would say, well, that doesn't look very good, that animation or that graphic. And I will wait to review the game until it's all out, until I've done the whole storyline and I've done a couple of things afterwards, and then I will judge and release it. But looking at the scores, it's around the mark that I expected it to be. Now, one of the issues that I think people don't think about is why isn't Pokemon a great series? Why can't it do a Breath of the Wild or a Mario Odyssey? And I don't mean about doing an open world game or anything like that. I mean really sort of changing it and really evolving it, and not these small little baby steps that it takes. Because each Pokemon game, let's be honest, each generation has been okay, they've fixed up a few things that's nice. They've added a couple features that is pretty good. But at the same time, they've gone backwards in this section, making the game worse. And overall, you get a stock standard 8 to 9 out of 10. And part of it is that Game Freak is a small studio. They're owned by the Pokemon Company and Nintendo and all that sort of association. but they're on a hamster wheel. They're on a treadmill that they can't get off. And what I mean by that is they've got to get this game out by November because there's a TV show that will be about Sword and Shield. And they've got to get this game out by November because there's also a trading card series that is also coming out a little later afterwards. So they've got to meet this deadline because of all their other merchandise and anime show and trading cards. Because if they don't, then the other sections don't sell as well. That's the reason why. This is why the Game Freak can't sit down and go, well, look, instead of trying to pump these out um, quickly and having issues in that, we're going to take 4 or 5 years and we're going to come back with an absolute blockbuster game that's just going to blow your minds. And yes, they do other games, and also too, the other games would make it hard too. They have to do Let's Go now, possibly do a new one if that does well. They do remakes as well. So that makes it hard for the studio to sort of dedicate their time to one game, the whole team, young and old developers, on one game that would make it a blockbuster. And I think I think that's the main reason why Pokemon is a good series, but it will never get to those heights of a Legend of Zelda or Mario series where you will talk about those games from years on. Um, I think the last great games was probably Pokemon Black and White and Black and White 2. X and Y was bland. Sun and Moon tried to do those changes. They changed it up and there was a few nice things, as I said before. But then there was lots of hand holding and there was no post-content stuff. So that drags all the good stuff they do and ends up getting that same 8, 9 out of 10, 7 out of 10. And it ends up just being a game like, well, it's pretty much the same as the others. Now, I'm sure that the graphics will obviously be better, but that's expected because it's the Switch console. And they should be upgrading and doing things better. But I think that's one of the reasons why is because they're always stuck. Um, Being stuck on that treadmill and trying to get the game out with all these other merchandise things and licenses and things like that. And I think that's a really sad thing. That's why Pokemon games will never be truly awesome or truly 10 out of 10 or 9.5s and stuff like that. Yes, I know IGA did a 9.3. I'm a little bit surprised at that score too. But hey, I might do the stream and go, yeah, this is the best one in generations. My funny feeling about Sword and Shield, I think it will definitely be better than Sun and Moon. I think that was just a low point, an X and Y, but it won't be up to the standards of Black and White 2 or the originals. I think it might be around third generation, fourth generation in terms of popularity and what people might think it is. But I don't think it will get to that Eka top of that sort of top area of generations. I think you could definitely do a better game than Pokemon X and Y. I think they were just forgettable. I don't remember much from them. I remember some of the graphics and some of the Pokemon, but it was just, I don't think of them very fondly. And it's the same thing for Generation 7 as well. But the amount of hate from the fan base has been pretty disgusting, really. And them going online and complaining about everything. Game Freak lied is the trending thing. And even bringing Iwata, the president who passed away now, quite a few years ago now, 3, 4 years back, and that is beyond the pale. You should not be dragging dead people into your arguments and saying, oh, well, he wouldn't stand for this thing. He recoded gold and silver. If he can do that, why can't Game Freak do that? Well, yes, that was a bit of a superhuman effort, but those games are like over 20 years old and a lot easier to code by yourself rather than the technologies and the games that are required to code now. We're dealing with 3D models and HD, not, Game Boy games. You know, there's a fairly big difference between doing, producing Pokemon Gold and Silver and making something like Sword and Shield. That's pretty hard to compare. So overall, I think the fan base has gone completely feral. Daro Smash Brothers fans, you're not the worst looked upon community group in the Nintendo world. I think Pokemon's claimed that one for this year. and they need to just back off, play the game, or if they really don't like the game, don't buy it. You know, there's your options. But I think most of these people that don't like Pokemon, will go off and buy the game regardless. So, and I can understand where, you know, look, even bad games sell well. You look at FIFA, you look at um, NBA 2K series, things like that. But I think all this sort of negativity is not great. I don't think it really solves anything. But the proof will be in the pudding once the game comes out here in Australia from midnight onwards and the next couple of days in other regions around the world. And we'll see what Pokemon Sword and Shield will be like. It's going to be very interesting, and I will be dealing with the trolls at midnight. I'm sure there will be one or two during the midnight stream and during the next few days, but I will deal with them myself. So that is it for me, and I shall see you later on.